All right. Are we live? Just gonna wait for some of the attendees to start rolling in. I think we are live right now. Can you? No? Okay. Oh, now we are live. All right. Hey, welcome back, everyone. Welcome to another session of In the Black. We're still on day one. My name is Sid, your host for today, your host for the entire summit. And I am speaking to you from our headquarters here in San Francisco at Gorgias. We put together this summit to help you, online retailers, be successful during Black Friday and Cyber Monday. So we've got like a whole bunch of information. We've got speakers who have dealt with this stuff in the past, and they're coming to you with all of their learnings and knowledge and strategies to help you so that you can use them in your business as well. Gorgias specifically is a customer service app for Shopify stores and for e-commerce businesses. And what we do is we allow you to automate a lot of your customer service, which is quite helpful, especially during the holiday season when there's a ton of people trying to ask you questions, asking about the products and discounts and promotions and all that stuff. Having an app like Gorgias to scale up your support is invaluable. And so for today's session, for the session right now, we have the CEO and founder of Gorgias who will be speaking about that. He's here with me. But before we get started, it's still a couple of minutes. I want to wait for more people to enter the webinar. For those of you who are on right now, please jump in the chat. There's a chat bubble somewhere in your screen. So please jump in there, introduce yourself. Let us know what business you're working on, what's your e-commerce store. And if you joined the earlier session today, let me know if you found that useful and what you're looking to get out of today's session with Roman on how to scale your customer support and provide outstanding customer support. Derek says hello. Everyone else just find that chat. Christina from Buffy here. Very nice. Let us know also what challenges you're facing that we can help you, whether it's today in this talk or in some of the talks coming up over the week. So, any specific challenges or concerns you have about the upcoming holiday season, the peak season, let us know in the chat over there. Meanwhile, we're just going to wait a couple more minutes till the top of the hour for more people to join in. Angela from Campus Protein is here. Hey, how's it going, Angela? Nancy says she missed an earlier webinar today. Is there going to be a recording? Yes, all webinars in this summit will be recorded. I'll have to wait until the webinar is over until I can upload the recording into YouTube, and then I'll send you the links so that you can actually watch the recordings. Christina says she's very excited about this talk. Awesome. If there's anything specific that you're looking forward to in this talk, let us know so that Roman can cover it. If, for example, he doesn't have a certain piece already, he can. He's an expert in this kind of stuff. He's worked with thousands of e-commerce stores to help them with their customer support. So, success with temporary to permanent. Do you mean like customer support with temporary customer support people? And permanent? All right.
We're going to talk about that.
Awesome. Okay, so we're going to cover that as well in the slides today. And just a couple more minutes and then we can get started. If there's anyone else online, jump into the chat. Let us know where you're coming from, what company you're working with, and what questions or thoughts you have about the summit and anything you want to talk about in particular. All right. Okay. Looks like the latest set of reminders have just gone out. So we're ready to start. I'm sure more people will start joining in right now. All right, so without any further ado, for all those folks that are joining in right now, my name is Sid, I'm from Gorgias, and we're going to be talking with Roman today. Roman is the CEO and founder of Gorgias, the customer support and customer service help desk app for Shopify stores. Earlier today, we had a conversation with Aaron, who is the editor-in-chief of Shopify Plus. Aaron spoke to us about some of the statistics he's been able to uncover from the data that Shopify has on holiday shopping. And he's done a ton of interviews and surveys with e-commerce businesses. And some of the things that he said earlier today were, the number one concern for retailers during the holiday shopping period was the growing cost of ads. And the second biggest concern was customer service needs. So how do you support your customers during the holiday shopping season when there's a ton of them? There's people asking about promotions, people who have bought and who want to know when the products are going to reach them, so on and so forth. How do you deal with that without frustrating your customers and without them going, well, I'm never going to shop with you again, and going off to your competitor? So Aaron talked a lot about how to increase your AOV and so that you can make up for those increased costs. Today, Roman is going to talk about the second piece, which is customer support. And we will have recordings. If you missed the earlier talk today, or if you have to leave this one earlier, then you will get the recordings at the end of the day. I'll send you an email with links so that you can watch these. All right. So if you guys are excited, let me know in the chat over there. Please say yes, and Roman is going to take it from here.
Nice. Can you mute yourself?
All right, hey everyone, excited to connect. So yeah, as he mentioned, we're going to cover like the number 2 topic of interest during the holiday season, which is customer service. So today, I'd like to tell you about how to provide an outstanding customer support experience during the holiday. So this might sound a bit counterintuitive because typically like the peak season is like more support, so your staff is a little bit behind. So customers are taking longer it takes longer to provide a response to customers. But I actually think you can take advantage of this moment to provide a better customer experience and to wow your customers. So we're going to jump into that. So just a quick look at the stat from this morning. So you can see on the right, like the top 5 concerns for holiday commerce. So one was ad spend rise, and the second one was customer support, which is like 75% of it's a concern for 75% of merchants. So it's likely like in the audience, like most of you are interested in that. So I'd like to dig a little bit in the data. So to prepare for this webinar, what I did is that I looked at all our customers on Gorgias and how support increased last year during the Black Friday, Cyber Monday peak. So let's look into that. So on the left, you have a graph of how many support requests your team is going to get week over week during the holiday season. So you can see that it starts like pretty slow in October, and as soon as Black Friday hits, then the volume is going to more than double, and so for about like 3 weeks and a half. And the biggest spike is actually right after Black Friday. So you can see like Christmas is still pretty busy, but not as busy as right after Black Friday. So this is kind of like the big challenge for your team, is that there's going to be like 3 weeks of stress that you're going to have to deal with. And so the question becomes like, how are you going to deal with this peak? So either you keep the same amount of people, and then like, of course, your team is going to be under a lot of stress, and it's going to take some time to get back to customers. The alternative, as I think like Christina and Nancy were saying in the chat, is that do we get more people to do support in order to provide the same level of service? And I think there is a third way, which is like having even more people and provide like a better experience right during the holiday season. So I'd like to talk a little bit about the first category, which is you keep the same number of people and things can go pretty wrong. For when I prepared for this talk, I looked at like a bunch of customer service story, and I found like this extreme hardcore story of something that went wrong during the Black Friday week. So I wanted to tell you about that because it might sound okay to like respond to customers within like 3 or 4 days because you have more traffic, but it can lead to pretty bad situations. So I'd like to tell you this disastrous story of a guy called Dan who bought a fridge in August. And so the problem was that like he has his fridge stopped working like the week before Black Friday. So it might sound like something like pretty normal, but something that's interesting here is that Dan got like kind of the Apple Care of fridge, so that when you have your fridge, like you can have like an easy replacement if something goes wrong. So here is Dan. It's the day before Black Friday. His fridge is not working since the morning, and he's like, okay, I need to get this fixed quickly because still like a little bit of food that has not perished yet. So let's try to save it. So what he does is that he reaches out to the support of the merchant and say, hey guys, like my fridge is not working. Can you guys help me? Email sent. Dan is on his inbox refreshing. No response, no response, no response, because what's going on? we are here. So like the volume doubled, and so it takes longer to get back to that. So yeah, so Dan is here, like he waits like 3 days and finally gets a response from support. And bad luck, the response came from like somebody who joined the team like 2 days before as a contractor just to handle the peak. And so this person is not super knowledgeable about like this Apple Care policy we have for the fridge. And so he says, hey, sorry, we can't do much about it. Just let's have you reach out to the manufacturer to find a solution. So it's been 4 days now, and so obviously like the food has perished already. Dan still has no fridge, and he's here like reaching out to the manufacturer. So he calls the manufacturer, and that's a real story, by the way. So he calls the manufacturer responds, and of course the manufacturer has like tons and tons of support people. Each of them has like a little piece of responsibility. So he calls the first one, then he enters what I call the maze, which is like trying to find the person who is able to help you, but it's not going to be like a one-step process. So you call the first person, you explain what's your problem, and then you get redirected to another person, you explain what's your problem, and then so forth until you find the right contact. And so what the manufacturer tells Dan is like, hey, I'm going to send you a technician. Meeting's booked for tomorrow. It's day 4. We are getting closer to a solution. The technician comes, fixes the fridge, but say, hey, to fix the fridge, I need some parts. So he orders the parts. Fortunately, the parts take 7 days to arrive. So then he's like, okay, I'm going to spend 11 days with the fridge, without a fridge. It's the worst week of my life, but I'll deal with it. So he waits. And then on day 12, the parts arrive, but there was something wrong with the order, didn't get the right parts. So he has to wait another 7 days. And at this point, as you might imagine, Dan starts to get a little crazy. So what he does is that he calls again the merchant to say, hey guys, like it's been 12 days, it's a joke. I want a replacement of my fridge. But remember, still the Black Friday peak. So we are like on week 2 now. So it takes another 3 days for Dan to take his response, day 16. And he ends up getting a response from the same person that say, hey, no, sorry, like that's not the policy, no replacement. And so that's like the interesting part begins. Dan goes mad. The story goes viral. Maybe some of you heard this story called the dark fridge. And so he comments on social media. But again, we are still in peak season. So the time for the merchant to realize something is wrong on their social media account is like several hours. And so during these several hours, I remember like Aaron was telling us about the fact that during the Black Friday peak, the ads are more expensive, but the average order value is the same. So the margin is very thin. So now you have spending a lot of money on ads with a very thin margin. And these ads have lots of comments like, hey, like you guys are scammers, that's a joke, you don't honor your offer. So like from your perspective as a merchant, you're like, okay, my support is just taking like a little longer to get back to customers because that's the peak. But from the customer's perspective, things can go very, very wrong. And so finally, the owner of the business realized that something's wrong. They like make it up to Dan, and they replace the fridge. 18 days go by, and eventually he got his replacement. The story is over. So that's crazy, right? That's true.
But it's insane that, and this is just one of many stories you can find online about customer success horror stories, right? And it just could as easily happen to you if you're not careful with your customer service, right? For example, a lot of retailers are just focused on just bringing in more sales, but then they don't support the customer after the sale, right? And then these customers are now complaining on social media and they don't realize that, right? And so it's a bad reputation for your company. You may try to get initially a lot more sales, but then people start to see all these comments on social media, then they'll stop purchasing from you, and then your cost per acquisition just goes through the roof. And yeah, like it could end up like this, where it's a viral story on social media and there's a meme out of it now. So this is not like an uncommon story. This happens very often. And you got to make sure it doesn't happen to you as well.
So I took like the most hardcore story actually like to make you realize like how far this can go, because like this graph might look like a little bit like not like it's not a big deal, but it actually is if you don't do a good job at dealing with it. So getting back to what we were talking about at the beginning is like, so either you do a bad job, and this is what can happen. So be careful if you go this way, because you need to know that's what could go very wrong. Then you can do an okay job. And so that's what most businesses are doing. So they just like staff a few more people, respond to customers at the same pace as before, and that's fine. Though when I was preparing for this webinar, I found a very interesting statistics. So it's the repeat rate. So meaning what's the percentage of customers who bought already from our brand that are going to buy again. And so what you can see here is that the average repeat rate is around like 15%, between 15 and 20%. What's super interesting here is that if you reach out to support, your repeat rate, if it's a good experience, can go more around like 50%. So meaning like this very positive experience that you might have reaching out to customer support may leave you like a great impression. So you're going to tell your friends, like, I'm going to tell Sid about this great experience I have with Campus Protein. You might like become like closer to the brand and start ordering more. So actually like there is a ton of value in getting back to customers faster. And so I think like it's worth the dollar investment to provide this wow experience during the Black Friday peak. So now let's jump into some tips on how to provide this experience. So what we did with Sid is to talk to some of our merchants at Gorgias. So we have the banner in the back, so you can see some of them like Electrolux, Adormi, or Thrive Cosmetics. Campus Protein is one of them as well. And so we spoke with some of these merchants, and we asked them like, what are some tips you have for other merchants to deal with the Black Friday customer service peak? So are you ready? Let's go over them. So number one is, I'm pretty sure your marketing is about to send like tons and tons of campaigns to get the attention of customers. And do you have an idea of what's the open rate for marketing email? Sid, I think like, what's as a marketer, like what's the typical open rate?
Typical open rate? It's like probably less than, like, I think I'd say around 5 or 10 at least, for depending on like whether it's cold or warm. Some of them can go up to like 20 to 40% if you have like a really engaged audience. So it's like it varies from one end of the spectrum to the other end of the spectrum.
Okay, and so what's the open rate for customer support email?
Customer support email?
It's close to 100%.
Yeah, customer support will be probably like almost all of them will be open, especially if a customer's asking for like help and then you respond to them. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So that's I think your estimate is pretty correct. So the open rate for like a marketing email is about like 30%. For a customer support email is about like 100%. So if you do the math, typically like about 5% of your customers are reaching out to your support every month, and you have 100% open rate for these 5%. So meaning like if you include some of your promotions inside those support messages, then you already touched like a sixth of what you would do with marketing efforts just using support. And so I think that's a great illustration of how you can use customer service as a way to promote your mix of promotions for Black Friday, Cyber Monday. So like I put like a little preview on the right where you can see like a merchant adding like a specific promo code for Black Friday to a messenger communication. So the cool thing is that it works on all channels that you use for support.
This is an interesting strategy. I'm curious to hear how many of you listening right now actually do something like this, where in your customer support email you're also kind of promoting some of those offers that you have going on, or if you intend to do that during the Black Friday and Cyber Monday weekend.
Yep. So if you guys are doing that, like please comment on the chat, or if you're considering of doing that, just curious about whether or not that's something you want to apply to your business. So step one, we use support as a way to promote the marketing effort. We have a Steve from Smile who's going to do that. That's awesome. So tip number two is providing the same experience on your website as you would do in the physical store. So think of it like let's say you go to a physical store, like it's Saturday afternoon, and you want to buy some clothes. So what's likely to happen is that you're going to walk in, and then there's going to be a sales associate that's going to ask you like, "Hey, how can I help you?" And they're going to briefly look at you and see like what's your style, and then start making recommendations. So I took like a screenshot of last year's store from Campus Protein. So Angela from Campus Protein is here. So this is what Campus Protein looked like last year. And so they do a great job at welcoming customers and trying to establish, to initiate conversations with them, because their customers are like college kids, and they need to educate them about their representative program, their ambassador program, like their products. So it requires like this conversation. And what you want to do is think of your support staff as some sales associate that are going to help you reach your revenue target for Black Friday.
This is a really good story, because we actually have a case study of Campus Protein on the blog. So if you want to read more about some of the strategies that they use, including this idea of a proactive chat popping up on the website. So you're probably going to have a lot of people browsing the website, your store. Maybe they don't purchase immediately. So having that little chat bubble welcome them gets their attention and sort of gets them to think about purchasing, and puts that promotion in front of them as well. So check the blog. blog.gorgias.io. I think Angela says, "Yay, Campus Protein." Check blog.gorgias.io for the full case study on Campus Protein and how they do this stuff.
Nice. So yeah, and another pro tip if you're on Shopify Plus is that you can include the chat in your checkout page. And so you might want to do that for Black Friday specifically, because lots of questions are going to be about applying coupons or things around that. And so this can definitely like help with the conversion on the checkout page.
Yeah, the checkout page is like especially crucial, right? Because you have people who are ready to click, but then there's always that last minute resistance. Like, hey, what if this code doesn't work? What if the item doesn't reach me? And that's like the most crucial time to be able to be on hand right there on the chat for any questions they may have. Because if you're not there, then they're just going to be like, all right, let's just go somewhere else and buy the same product, right? So.
Yep. So let's talk about the questions that people are going to ask, whether it's on the checkout page or on somewhere else on the website. So same, we analyzed like the tickets so far, like 600 customers, and pulled up like the top 5 questions that your team can expect. So that's on the right. So you can see like we're going to briefly look at it. So what's the status of my order? Number 1 question. So make sure you're ready for this one. Then returns, promo codes, edit orders, and canceling orders. And so those are like those make up for about like 40% of your request. So think back of the graph that we had. So the volume is going to increase more than 2x. And so 40% of this 2x is going to be these questions. So actually, if you want to prepare for it and make sure your response time stays like acceptable by customers, prepare for these questions. So there are 3 ways you need to prepare for these questions. So one of them was mentioned by Kara on the chat, which is making sure to have macros for each of these topics. For those of you who are not familiar with macros, it's super simple. It's a canned response that can include variables from Shopify. So like the tracking number can include like the order number, the address. And so this way, you can easily respond to a chat, an email within a few seconds by just selecting this macro instead of doing some copy pasting. So one is make sure you have one macro for each of those messages. From like all the support teams I've seen, like they have like tens and tens of macros. But the problem is that all these macros are not always up to date. And so sometimes you might overlook them and say, hey, like, I don't care. We have all these macros. That's fine. Like we're gonna be okay. But then comes the hit, and you're using like old macros that are not like the best version they can be to respond to 40% of your tickets. So you want to make sure that these are like the perfect state to handle the Black Friday peak.
That's
number 1. Macros. 2 is make sure your FAQ is up to date to respond to those 5 questions. And then we have 3, which is you may want to set up some automatic responses to those common questions. something we see a lot is sometimes the warehouse is a bit behind. So it takes a bit longer to ship the item and send the tracking information to the customer. So all the customers are now contacting you and saying, hey, where's my tracking information? Whereas it's only like, sorry guys, it's just getting like 2 days later. So something you can do is have an automatic response that says, if somebody's asking about delivery status, and if the order has been placed within less than 5 days, and if there is no tracking number, so like orders that are pending to be fulfilled within 5 days of being ordered, then automatically respond with, hey guys, like we are going to respond to this, to send you the tracking information as soon as it ships. Sorry, the warehouse is a little bit behind. So this way, like that provides this instant response to customers on like the most common questions they have.
That's interesting. I'm curious to hear from those of you listening right now if these are questions that you see often coming through, and if you've set up some sort of like automated system to answer them, because the volume will probably like double during Black Friday. I'm also curious to know if there are any other questions specific to Black Friday and Cyber Monday that Roman you've seen that could be that you guys could automate.
Yeah,
sure. So let me. So those are like the top 5 that you see on the screen, but that's a really good point. So I can tell you a little bit about like, the ones that are after this top 5 that are pretty relevant to Black Friday. So the first one is about like gifts. So can I add gift wrapping? Is there a way to give a gift note? This one's pretty popular, so like 3-4%. So make sure you have you tell everybody on your team to prepare for this one. Another one, if you guys run a subscription business, which I think is like the case for about like 20% of stores on Shopify, is people want to offer subscriptions. So I would maybe like offer you like a sub-subscription seed, something like that. And so to plan for it, like customers are going to be asking like, oh, can I purchase like 5 months in advance or 6 months in advance? And so make sure you have a response to this one. Same goes with like delivery status for the first box. And so Emily Sheets says like they don't automate, but they provide they use macros to respond to these questions. Curious to know why you made this decision. Like of course, like one of the big reasons might be to be 100% sure that you provide the best response. And if your staff gets back to customers within 30 minutes, yeah, that's totally fine. You might want to consider automation if you're like a bit understaffed. And there was a law in California actually that was passed earlier this month that says if you are a bot, you cannot pretend to be a human. So yeah, thanks California. I think that's actually a great thing, because if you automate, you don't want to pretend that you are an actual agent responding to customers. Like customers are not stupid; they will understand. So make sure that you say, hey, this is an automated response. We think your question is this, and this is the response. Your order is going to ship within 5 days. And if this is not what you asked for, like somebody's going to read your message anyways and get back to you. So this way like, you don't overcommit, and there is no like backlash from customers angry because you have like some automated messages.
Yeah, I think we've reached peak Silicon Valley where the government has to ban robots from trying to impersonate humans.
Yeah. Another thing while preparing for this this webinar was I looked at like the reliability of USPS and UPS, and it turns out like in 2013, so not so long ago, like USPS had like some serious shipping issues, and so all the orders were late. Lots of kids were sad because they didn't get their present on time for Christmas, and so what you need to, of course, like it just happens. You can't do much about it. But what you can do is like follow those accounts on Twitter to make sure that you're on top of it. And so if it happens in 2018, make sure to tell your customers ahead of time that, hey, like, sorry, like it's out of our control, but you're going to get your item late. So at least people know in advance and can plan for it. Last thing, and we actually got this one from our customer service manager here at Gorgias, who used to work for Down Good Yarn, which is a merchant. Chloe, you might know her, and she was saying like a common issue is that you might run out of inventory, and so when this happens, like your team is under a lot of stress, and so it might be worth preparing for that ahead of time and having like a template that you can send out to your customers, providing them with a few options like here is a gift card. You can buy another product variant, or we can replace your order with another variant, or you can get it, but the delay is going to be X days, like 20 days, for instance. So yeah, that's this one was a big one, tip 3. But I think it's important because you need to know like what this spike is going to be like. Tip 4 is about response time. So this one is pretty interesting because it gets back to like how good of a job you're going to do at getting back to customers. And typically a proxy metric for how happy customers are going to be is the response time. So on the right, you can see what's the average expectations. 12 hours for email, 2 hours for social media comments, so mostly Facebook and Instagram. So again, like back to our dark fridge story, like if there is something wrong with a customer, they're going to post on social media and you want to react pretty fast. So 2 hours is like the max you can do. And the last one is chat, 20 seconds. And so what's pretty interesting here is that that gives you like a good benchmark of what you need to provide. And then you can try to staff to provide like a better response time across the board. And this is how you're going to create this wow effect of like, hey, I reached out to Emily's team and they got back to me within like 5 minutes, and that's completely unexpected. And so like I'm like, okay, like, wow, that was a great experience. I like the product, I like the company because they respond to me really fast. And that's where you start creating this word of mouth around your brand. Let's jump into team 5, which is, I think, one of the early questions at the beginning of the chat from Christina, which is how to staff. So I put like a couple, I asked like a few merchants, and here are some examples. So let's say you have a 2-people team. What you want to do is like, what you can do is hire like 2 part-time people that are going to work from like late November until like Christmas time, or maybe like early January, to make it up for the spike. And so we actually put on like a calculator to tell you like how many support people you need on your team to handle the peak. So we're going to send that as a follow-up right after this chat. Though something you want to keep in mind if you hire temporary people is that they don't know your product. And so true, you have a few days before Black Friday, Cyber Monday to train them, specifically on the questions that we mentioned right before. But you want to make sure that if a complex question, like the one about the fridge warranty, ends up in their hands and they don't know, they don't assume. They need to ask somebody on your team. So something that Chloe was saying is that you might want to have a policy that says if you spend more than 5 minutes on a customer request and you don't know the response, or you're kind of confused, just pass it over to somebody else, because it's better to like wait a little bit more and have the right and definitive response rather than having the temporary agent making a guess. And as you can see, like it can snowball and be a little dangerous afterwards. And that brings us to the final tip, which I think is a great way to motivate your entire team. As we said, it's going to be a little bit of a stress time for your team because there's going to be so many requests from customers. And so during this like very busy week, I think it's great to keep in mind that all of you are helping customers and trying to make them happier. And so some customers are like posting this as reviews, saying how good of an experience they had from customer support. And I think it's super important to relay that to the entire team, not only like the support team, but the full company, so that they know that how good of a job the support team is doing. And you keep in mind, like when you respond to customers, like this is to help them and this should make them happy. And so I would recommend posting on whatever communication tool you use, like Slack or like any other tool, the good reviews from customers to like beef up the team morale.
Yeah, we've seen this work even here inside Gorgias, right? Like when we provide support to the e-commerce businesses that use Gorgias as a software, and then someone gets a really good response, then we share that internally amongst the whole team, and it just makes us feel good that we're doing a good job and that our customers are being supported. And I think that would work the same way for you in your business when a customer posts online and says, "Wow, I had a great experience with this online store," and then maybe they name even like one of your members from the customer service team. You circulate that note around inside your business. We mentioned that we do it with Slack. Is that how you recommend people do that?
Yeah, if you're on Slack, it's pretty straightforward. So you can use your review software, whether it's Stamped or Yotpo, to trigger something on Zapier or IFTTT. Like those are automation apps, and then that posts on a wall of love channel or customer love channel that you can create, and just do it for a week, and then you'll see like the effect it can have on your team. So those are like the 6 tips we have here. So let's just recap real quick. So promote your marketing efforts inside support messages. 2 is think of your support staff as sales associates and try to initiate conversations. 3, prep for the top 5 questions we're going to send after this webinar. 4 is focus on having like a very short response time to wow your customers. 5 is make sure you staff for the spike. And 6 was to build this wall of customer love. So then the question is like, okay, let's say we implement those 6 tips. How do we track success? And so I think there are 2 ways to track success. Number 1 is having a KPI of saying, hey, we want to keep the response time across the board between this duration. So I would recommend like 30 minutes if you have the staff to like providing these very, very fast responses. If not, like you can see like the expectation we had here was about like 12 hours for email, 2 hours for Facebook and Instagram, 20 seconds for chat. So make sure you meet those expectations. So yeah, focus on response time. Then the other statistics that was interesting is the repeat rate that can double or quadruple from customers who contacted support. So something you can do is keep track of this repeat rate like 2 or 3 months after Black Friday and see like how good of a job your support team did. And I think it's a great opportunity as well to take the credit for like the impact you have on customer loyalty, because like you guys are doing a fantastic job at responding to customers, even though there are so many of them reaching out at this period of the year. So make sure that you can show your entire team like, hey guys, like we did a good job, and look at the repeat rate that generated.
I'm curious for those of you watching, is like that first point there, less than 30-minute first response time. Do you have some sort of KPI or goal within your company where you try to hit that first response time, keep it below a certain number? And my second question, I guess, Roman, is tracking these repeat orders. You said like after 2 or 3 months, is there a way to sort of, how do you actually do that? Like how do you follow up and track those and make sure that it's, you can see that it's a repeat order because of the support?
That's a great point. So I know that large brands on Shopify, what they do is that they have a data warehouse where they have like all the support conversations and all the orders, and then you just like do some queries to get this information. Something we did in preparation for this the summit was to look at the repeat order rate per merchant among our customers. So if that's of interest to you guys, that was like the giveaway we wanted to have for today on top of the 1 month free, is to give you this data. So that brings us to 3 months from now, which will be January. But we can tell you like, hey, this is the repeat order rate that you have from customers who reached out to support during the holiday season.
Nice. Okay.
Oh, we definitely want to set up follow-up for repeat orders, and our KPI is 1 hour response time. Nice, Amy. Okay. Yeah.
Nice.
So 1 hour is already like much better than the expectations of customers. So congrats on that.
Yeah. You're exceeding your customers' expectations, then they're going to be a lot happy with you, right? But if you don't hit their expectations, then they're going to be disappointed. So always, we're pushing that bar, and that's a really excellent response time over there. So congrats. All right. So you mentioned that there was going to be a little sort of giveaway and a gift.
Yep.
All right.
Just before we jump
to that, I just wanted to like tell you in 40 seconds what Gorgias is. So we are like the #1 rated help desk for Shopify stores. On the right, you can see all of our customers. So some of them, like Timbuktu and Marine Layer, are in San Francisco. Some of them are in New York, Campus 13, with Angela from the team, Sphero, and so forth. And so what we do is that we are like a all-in-one place customer service platform where you have like your email, chat, Messenger, Instagram, and Facebook comments. Everything is in one place, and it's fully integrated with Shopify. So when you have a customer reaching out, you can see all the order information, see the tracking, edit the order. And we also do a bit of automatic responses to common questions from customers. So that's it. That's us at Gorgias. And thanks as well, Sid, for putting up the summit from the Gorgias team. That's really great. And so something we are doing here as a special offer is to provide this repeat rate analysis if you sign up after the webinar. So just tell us on the chat that you wanted to redeem this perk. Just so you know, it's going to take us like 3 or 4 months to provide it to you because, of course, like customers that have a wow experience in November need to wait for them to buy again, maybe December or early January, and then we can provide you with the stats. So we'll do that. We just sent the bit.ly tracking on the chat, so you can just click on that, and this way you don't even have to mention it on to our team. So yeah, I think that's it for today. A big thanks to Sid for putting together all the summits. So it's day 1. We have until Friday together. Lots of tips are coming up.
Yeah. No, thank you for joining us today, Roman, and thanks all of you for coming. If you have questions, we're just going to stick around for a bit. And just to recap, Roman said that we are giving you a free month on Gorgias. So if you go to gorgias.io or you go to that link, you can sign up for free. It takes you 5 or 10 seconds, no credit card kind of thing. Just give it a test, see if it's something that you want to use, because a lot of what we spoke about today in terms of setting up macros, automated responses, scaling your support can all be done within Gorgias. Secondly, the free repeat rate analysis, that will be done 2 months afterwards. We'll give you more data around, hey, so we'll come back to you in January and say, hey, back in November, you answered these support tickets. This was the result. This is how much you made in sales. So we're going to give you that data so that you have that feedback loop as well. So yeah, if there's any other questions, let me know. And that concludes day 1 of our summit. Today morning, we had Aaron from Shopify Plus. We had Roman just now. I'll send you an email with the recordings for both the talks for today, as well as the links to the special offers if in case you don't have that. But you can always just go to gorgias.io and get that special offer, and then just email us, and we'll credit your account with a free month. Tomorrow we have Jordan from Carthook and Steve from Smile.io. Carthook is a custom a checkout optimization app where you can customize a checkout to increase the conversion rates. Smile.io is the #1 loyalty programs app for Shopify stores. So we have been speaking about how important it is to have and to create loyal customers to come back and make repeat purchases. So you'll learn a lot more about that tomorrow. Hope to see you all tomorrow. Thank you once again for joining us, and have a great day. If you have any questions, if you need anything, let me know. My name is Sid, and you can just hit me up at sid@gorgias.io.
Yeah, and
thanks to Angela, Christina,
for the thank you notes. We hope you got some great content from it, and that's going to be applicable to your support team for the weeks to come.
All right. Have a good day, everyone. See ya.